That's all right. Thanks, Dick. And thank you all for inviting me to be a part of such an exciting event. I grew up in Blacksburg and graduated from Virginia Tech, so it was a welcome excuse to come back home yesterday and spend some time with the family. Our first group this morning is Plasteat from Vienna, Austria, Vienna University of Technology.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're Team Plasteat from Vienna, and we are here to tell a little story about a fungus and a kind of plastic, and what each of those have to do with each other. I want to start with introducing ourselves. Right next to me here is Christina. She's our biotech head, and she will talk to you about all the product and process related, as well as the scientific aspects of the presentation. Next to her is Jutta. She's our finance head. She will talk to you about all the market related stuff, as well as the financial aspects of the product. My responsibility is product development and prototyping. My name is Lucas, and I will have a little introduction and then conclude at the end. So we all know plastic is a very useful material, and we use it in many different applications today. To just take one out, this is the chemical structure of polyurethane. You can find it in your home, for example, as a kitchen sponge. Industrial applications are much more important. For example, we use it in furnishings, and every car seat has around 15 pounds of polyurethane in it. It is also a very good isolation material, so we use it in house construction or, for example, in fridges to keep them low energy. Every fridge has around 13 pounds of polyurethane in it. But with every plastic, there comes a problem. It's plastic pollution. There are two major ways of getting rid of our plastic nowadays in our modern world. The first of all is throwing it in our ocean, which is, of course, a very bad idea. Second is burning it, which releases lots and lots of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. To take the example from before, every pound of polyurethane which gets burned is releasing over 2 pounds of carbon dioxide into your atmosphere. This adds up to a number of over 3.9 billion pounds of carbon dioxide emitted just in the European Union and just in 1 year. To get that number into perspective, this is a forest with over 240 million trees. Also, burning polyurethane releases lots and lots of toxic gases and harmful substances into the atmosphere. We want to change that. We are developing a process which enables us to degrade polyurethane and turn it into organic material and then compost. We therefore use a fungus concentrate. Sounds crazy? Christina will tell me more about that.
We collect polyurethane from recycling companies and put it into our Plasteat containers, which are about the size of those you see on cargo ships. This is then being transported, and during transportation, the plastic is being degraded in a liquid fungus solution. And after less than 200 days, the final outcome, our compost, can be retrieved at the destination sites, which might be old coal mines, for example. This compost can then be used for other purposes, such as reforestation or land rehabilitation, and therefore fight the global problem of soil degradation. So basically, we get plastic wastes from recycling companies and degrade it, generating compost during this process. In return for the service, we are getting paid by the recycling companies. Concerning competition, burning is surely a very cost-efficient and also easy scalable way, but it is very harmful for the Earth's environment. Today's recycling methods are not that harmful for the Earth's environment, but they are more expensive and not scalable at all. Plasteat serves a great solution there, which is not only easy scalable, but also relatively cost efficient and not bad for the Earth's environment. There are 3 ways to protect our deer. Either by generating patents for the technical process, or by using important parts of the fungus gene and transferring them into yeast, or by taking solely the enzyme which is responsible for the fungus ability of degrading the polyurethane. And this would speed up the process. And now Jutta is going to tell you more about our market.
Yeah, so polyurethane production worldwide amounts to 18 million tons every year, The biggest producer of polyurethane is China, followed by the United States with 5.5 million tons. And in Europe, production stands at 3.7 million tons annually. According to researchers, those figures are shooting upward with 4.5% every year. And now let me show you what happens to the polyurethane once it has reached the end of its life cycle. In Europe, 25% of the polyurethane are being recycled, which is represented by the yellow dot. The red one represents 1 million tons, which get burned by energy for energy recovery. And the remaining 2 million tons of polyurethane are waste, and they constitute huge environmental and accumulation problems. Curec, a market leader in fridge recycling in the European Union, has already expressed interest in our product. Curec holds 10% of the European market in fridge recycling, and with them as a first customer, we will recycle 10,000 tons of polyurethane annually, which is still leaving us with 90,000 tons of polyurethane market potential in refrigerator scrap. So Plasteat actually has two revenue streams. In highly regulated markets like the European Union with the WEEE Recycling Directive, recyclers have to recycle 86% of the fridges they are processing. So our degradation fee for 1 ton of polyurethane is going to be $100. In addition, Plasteat is going to generate revenues by profits from carbon credits. In the European Union, manufacturing plants have to offset their carbon emissions if they exceed a certain limit by buying carbon credits. Through those carbon credits, we are going to receive $6 for each ton of CO2 taken out of the atmosphere by our reforestation program. So to put those two revenue streams together, assuming a recycling volume of 800,000 tons of polyurethane, we will generate revenues of $89 million. So this is our cost structure. Our fixed costs are going to be process development and prototyping with $5 million in the first 3 years. For our Plasteat containers, which can hold 20 tons of polyurethane and can be reused, we are calculating costs of $5,000. And to take that number from the last slide again, for 800,000 tons of polyurethane, we are calculating transportation costs of $1 million and organizational costs of $1 million. So to sum it up, assuming a recycling volume of 500,000 tons of polyurethane in 2022, we will generate profits of $11 million. Assuming a recycling volume of 800,000 tons of polyurethane in 2023, we will generate profits of $46 million. And now back to Lucas.
Thanks, Jutta. So, just to remind you, for every pound of polyurethane which gets burned, over 2 pounds of carbon dioxide are getting emitted into the atmosphere. Our process will be able to decrease the amount of emitted carbon dioxide up to 95% with no toxic gases emitted, and we are producing highly valuable organic material. We therefore use this compost then for a reforestation program and actually absorbing more carbon dioxide that our process will emit. We just finished setting up a research partnership together with the University of Life Science back in Vienna. We start working on the process starting with October 2016 together with an external PhD student to get the expertise into the team. Also, 2 of our team members will write a bachelor and a master thesis about the project, and we want to start with prototyping in around a year. We will finally launch our product around mid-2019. We're actually a team of 5 with a strong background in life science and biotechnology, not only with Christina, but also with Michael and Benoit. We have also insights in business model development and finance with Jutta, and expertise in mechanical engineering with Lucas. Together we have the dream and the vision to become one of the worldwide market leaders in polyurethane recycling to tackle 3 worldwide problems at once: deforestation, climate change, and plastic pollution. We are Plasteat, and we are turning plastic into compost.
Can you please explain how the trucking model the hauling model works, how the materials get from here to there.
We only have one transportation within our process. So only we manufacture containers. We therefore then transport the containers to the premises of the, for example, the recycler, the fridge recyclers. If the fridge recyclers fills up the container and it's full, they just give us a call, and we come there and pick it up. We then transport the containers to our premises where we want to launch our deforestation program, for example, coal mines. This is done by, this is the single, the single way of transporting the container to the premises. When the process finished, we then just empty the container there and bring it back to the customer. So we tried to start in Europe, and in Europe many coal mines and also many recyclers have train tracks on their side. So we try to use train transportation for that because it's more efficient also on the climate and also a little cheaper.
So most business ideas take advantage of a problem, a big problem, and you've articulated a big problem, but it's not necessarily a business problem. It's more of a societal problem, right? It's maybe a government or non-governmental organizational problem. However, you did articulate a problem that you could solve with the recyclers by taking excess inventory that they might have. So I guess my question is, how large is that market that you have access to? In other words, the excess material. And then secondly, you didn't talk, or I didn't hear you talk much about the composting. Where does all that go, and how does it work, and do you earn revenue on that side?
I think the first question is addressed to Jutta, and I will take the second in.
Okay, so regarding markets, I think we had that slide with the 100,000 tons in fridge recycling. So that's tons which which don't get recycled at the moment. So that's a market potential. And we also so Kurek, so the company which we talked to, said that they fear that regulations are going to go up in Europe. So it's not only going to be 86%, but it's going to be more. They have to recycle. So there's going to be more demand for recycling polyurethane. And we are also in contact with automobile recycling industry, and
Also construction recyclers.
Construction, yeah.
And we are also expecting that all these regulations about recycling not only going to take place in Europe, but also coming to the States and after maybe to Asia, to also have there a market potential, which is on both sides, not only on the revenue side with the carbon credit system.
Okay, the compostable material.
Yeah. The compost is the fungus eats the polyurethane. So what is coming out of the process is actually the dead fungus, and this is turned into compost just by waiting. And we therefore then lay out the compost on, for example, coal mines. We have to get to see how one of these coal mines look like today. We want to change how this looks like. And energy suppliers are having a hard time to getting these back into normal landscapes. And we are helping them with this problem as well. And we're therefore bringing the compost here and just start planting trees. And I don't know if you're familiar with the carbon credit system, but if you a manufacturer of a large firm, you have to comply to the carbon credit system if you exceed a certain amount of energy consumption per year. And it's also a non-mandatory system where everybody of us can buy their carbon credits to offset their emission. For example, if you fly from Roanoke to DC, you can, I don't know, spend $2 and on your carbon credits to offset your carbon emission. And planting trees and a forest works as a so-called carbon sink. So you're able to get carbon credits out of this forest for the first 10 years. This is where the most of the carbon emissions are absorbed by trees.
Thank you for your presentation, very well prepared. I just have a very quick question. How are you planning on funding it? And have you looked into potential grant funding from the EU? Since you are planning on exchanging carbon credits, there are several programs that potentially can help for the R&D part of it.
Yeah, so those $5 million we calculated for R&D actually without taking into account that, for example, the lab space we have for the next year is at university, and we are not paying for that. So that's the first thing where we are probably going to get funding as long as we stay at university. And then obviously the second thing would be European funding for doing something climate positive. But yeah, thank you.
What you're proposing is extremely ambitious, and it's kind of all dependent on this fungus working. Have you had any small-scale demonstration that this is actually working? And if this is really something like that, how come other people haven't tried this?
There are scientific papers on the fungus, and it showed that there are several different funguses who are able to degrade polyurethane. And this, we are going to use the three fastest one and test out which suits best our solution. And there are certain tests done with it, and the funguses are very, very promising because they don't need any oxygen, they don't need any light, and they can live on the polyurethane as a sole carbon source. So it's a very promising thing. But nobody has done it on industrial scale. We're the first with industrial scale. This is also why we really hoping for the money here to hire a lawyer.
Okay, we have several several questions from the audience. How long does the process take from the initial storage until usable compost?
The complete degradation process, so no polyurethane is there anymore, will take less than 200 days. And how long it will take until we can use it as a tree growing compost there, we will have to test it out.
Okay, sure. Okay, all right. So you can, so this can turn all the refrigerator into compost. I guess that brings up an interesting question. I guess there's a lot of other materials besides just the polyurethane in there. That probably some toxic materials in there. So how do you separate that?
We are in contact with Coolrec, and they send us some test samples about the material, and it shows that it's around 85% polyurethane, and the rest is dust, aluminum, and stuff like that. So we're certainly sure that we can't use the compost for example, growing vegetables in it. It won't fit for this. But we're quite sure that trees don't care about a little dust in the compost.
Okay, let's see. Time for more? Or? Okay. So yeah, what global research is there about the fungus already?
There are certain academic researchers are going on testing out the fungus, and we're the first ones trying to file a patent over the industrial thing. I think it's around 10 or 15 different labs researching on funguses like this, but they're all just academic research. It's nothing really trying to put it into industry scale.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. This is a very good presentation.